It is like a jungle. You don't have to come in and tell the kids that they're poor. You don't have to come in and tell them that they don't have any food to eat, or they don't have any clothes to wear to school. They know that. They know that from the time that they're able to walk and talk. And they see the gang elements. They see all this type of thing, and this is their social atmosphere. This is something that they grow up in. This is something that they can't escape from, the ghetto, a situation from which they are not able to escape.
In the spring of 1981, Chicago's Cabrini Green housing project experienced a wave of shootings and homicides. The city's first female mayor, Jane Byrne, relocated to the infamous housing project in what some believe was a political PR stunt. But her daughter, Kathy Byrne, recalled in an NPR interview that her mother temporarily relocated to Cabrini Green with the intentions to understand the causes of the gun violence and high crime.
Listening to the news radio, and they said, news of the day, and then at the end they said, and another shooting at Cabrini Green last night. 18-year-old was shot to death, and no suspects have been arrested. And now on to the Cubs. And she thought, dude, that's terrible. Someone should do something about that. And then she thought, wait, I'm the mayor. I have to do something about this. She finished her coffee, finished putting on her makeup, and when she went to get in the car, she told the bodyguard, we're not going to City Hall. Just drive over to Cabrini and do not get on the radio. I don't want them to know I'm coming. And she, said, this is going to stop. I can't have this in my city. This is 8 blocks from my house, and it's a different world. And I think as she said those words, it sort of dawned on her she better get into that world and see what was really happening. And she talked it over with my stepfather, and they announced the next day they were going to make the move into Cabrini.
Byrne reportedly has lost confidence in the ability of 18th District Commander Michael O'Donnell to handle the Cabrini crime problem. Meanwhile, the Cabrini complex is looking better than it has in years. The city working hard to clean it up before the mayor moves in.
After only one night in a heavily police-protected, modest 2-bedroom apartment, Mayor Byrne declared she intended to stay as long as it takes, and that we need less fear and more hope.
We're trying to reclaim, and I'm quoting, the streets of Cabrini Green, and we are.
What began as a crusade to curb violence and high crime quickly minimized to a modest push for basic repairs. As long as it takes apparently became 3 weeks and several weekend stays at her posh apartment located only a mile east of Cabrini Green. When the New York Times interviewed Cabrini Green resident Ruby Ames, she stated, I live here because I have to. She's here because she wants to be. You gotta admire her for her nerve.
Happy Easter, everybody. The rides will now begin, and I hope I see every teenager and every little one out here enjoying the merry-go-round, the Ferris wheel, the jumping jacks, the Easter eggs, and again, Superintendent of Police is over here, too. I want to say to all of you, may God give you all a very happy and holy Easter. Thank you.
Jane Byrne's highly publicized social experiment was an attempt at best to assess the need of a community. And what some may say was a push for the black vote. Wrapping up her last days at Cabrini Green, Byrne hosted a very polished, televised Easter celebration. Just beyond the cameras, protesters questioned her intentions.
You're going to the 18th district, I'll talk to you right there.
No, you need to know what's being arrested now, or what's your badge number?
18th district.
What's your badge number?
We'll tell you in the 18th district.
Wait a minute.
The unfiltered racial and classist divide became center stage when police brutalized demonstrators.
I saw no resistance. The lawyer, whose name is Abdul, kept asking, why are you arresting them? What are the charges? And finally they grabbed him and threw him into the paddy wagon. Exactly.
30 years later, Cabrini Green was demolished, displacing over 13,000 residents and reconfigured for the wealthy.
Tearing down Cabrini is part of a $1.6 billion overhaul of public housing in Chicago.
It is called the Plan for Transformation, and it's the most sweeping reform of its kind in this country's history. But it has plenty of critics who say the decision to demolish these high-rises is not eliminating the poverty. It's just dispersing it around the city.
And 35 years later, Chicago's violence, racism, and classist divide continues to make national headlines.
Shooting of 17-year-old Laquan McDonald was released. Officer Jason Van Dyke fired the gun and is charged with first-degree murder. Free on bond, he vows to fight the charge. The case has raised larger questions about police abuse and lack of accountability. The mayor announced the formation of a task force. But protesters may not be easily satisfied.
We shall not be moved.
Emanuel's fiercest critics suggest city officials kept the video from the public for over a year for political reasons.
What went wrong with Mayor Byrne's needs assessment? Was the temporary relocation to Cabrini Green the most productive approach? In this episode, I'm learning from those who came before me. I want to understand a 21st century approach to a needs assessment. A needs assessment that helps organizations authentically impact the communities they intend to serve. Welcome to the Nonprofit Startup Podcast. The for-profit makes products that make money because money is the bottom line. Nonprofits, we make programs and services designed to strengthen communities because our bottom line is social impact. In episode 2, we explored branding from a nonprofit's perspective. If you haven't checked out the episode, make sure you go back and give it a listen because we've discussed how an organization's programming and services are key to its brand positioning. The nonprofit's mission statement is a declaration to our causes. But what's the need? Are we creating programs and services that address the community's issues? Your audience associates how your organization addresses the needs of the community you serve. The needs assessment is both a brand positioning and strategic planning tool. It's a guide to help determine your community's needs, set priorities, and plan for action. We've thrown around the term need. But what is it? A need is the difference between what is and what should be. Here are 4 things to consider when assessing the needs of a community. Number 1, identify the target community. Number 2, identify the what is. Number 3, gather and analyze data. And number 4, make a decision. Today, we're going to critique Mayor Byrne's needs assessment and outline Nerdy Media's 21st century approach to the needs assessment. Let's take a closer look at our 4 steps to the needs assessment. Number 1, identifying the target community. Who or what communities is your organization dedicated to serving?
We are going to reclaim, and I'm quoting, the streets of Cabrini Green, and we are.
Jane Byrne wanted to serve the Cabrini Green community. Nerdy Media is dedicated to serving Chicago's disconnected youth, which is a community of young people between the ages of 16 and 24 who are neither working nor in school. Number 2, let's explore the what is. This is where we need to investigate what is already known about the needs of our target community. After a news segment highlighting the community's violence, Mayor Byrne relocated to Cabrini Green because that was all she knew. Once she relocated, it would have been a prime opportunity to engage with the community leaders, or hosting a town hall meeting would have provided insight into the community's current situations and greatest concerns.
Everywhere I can, I fill out an application, and for about 90% of them, I get no response whatsoever, not an email, not a reply.
What does that do to you?
I mean, it kills my confidence.
If y'all can put money into building a better Wrigley Field, why y'all can't put money into building better youth?
The message was hard to ignore. The mayor called the stats
a flashing red light that we have a lot of work ahead of us to make sure that every Chicagoan can participate fully in the future that awaits the city of Chicago.
As an educator, engaging with my students, I listened and observed the challenges and concerns of the youth and their parents, along with following the works of Chicago's most innovative programs. Number 3, gathering and analyzing data. Through research, organizations identify the what should be and determine the magnitude of a community's needs and their causes. Jane's missed opportunity led to a push for basic maintenance repairs, assuming that this was the most pressing concern for the community, overlooking the causes of high crime and violence of Cabrini Green.
The teen unemployment rate for black teens is a whopping 88%. The number for Hispanic teens, not much better. That's 85% of those looking for a job can't find one.
Through research, we identified high unemployment rates and data that concluded employers' need for skilled and innovative workers. It's called a skills gap, which is a significant gap between an organization's skill needs and the capabilities of its workforce. And finally, number 4, making decisions. The bridge from analysis to action helps us answer all the important questions. What needs are the most critical? What are some possible solutions? Which solutions are best? And also, which solutions are already in place? This is where organizations design programming and services to address the needs that aren't met, or retweak the ones that are. Kathy Byrne went on to explain the additional solutions her mom, the mayor, implemented to address the needs of Cabrini Green.
And hauling away dumpsters and just all of the dreck that had just been left there for years, all of those things, and working with the courts, and they put in a special night court in Cabrini so that, people could be processed right away in the event of violent crimes. It wasn't something that you could wait till the next police shift to go get them because, gee, if we got them now, there wouldn't be any place to put them. She said, enough of those excuses. We're gonna do this now.
Jane Byrne may have had good intentions. However, she overlooked the community's greatest concerns. Cabrini's crime and violence were symptoms of a much bigger problem. The resources dedicated to incarceration could have funded actions intended to strengthen the community. Heightened law enforcement was a reactive approach. Cabrini needed a proactive approach, one that empowered the community through programming and services that addressed unemployment and social-emotional well-being, actions that resulted in authentic and sustainable impact. At Nerdy Media, we work through the 4 steps of the needs assessment to determine the greatest concern, set priorities, and a plan for action. Recognizing that vocational and job training programs often overlook career planning, Nerdy Media's first program, Wearing the Crown, is an innovative, activity-based program designed to equipping those entering the workforce with a 21st century perspective. The workshop is a fundamental approach to addressing the skills gap. I hope this overview of the needs assessment helps to prioritize your programming and service strategies to authentically impact your communities. We'd love to learn more about your organization and programming or services you've designed to address the needs of your target community. Thanks for listening. Next week, we're taking a road trip.
Starting route to 8, head south on Southeast Van Ness.